Okay, so we're going to do today a pork shoulder roast. So this is a pork shoulder. When it first came, it had a netting over it. You can use the netting to cook it, but I want to try and get some crackling going, so I had to take it off, which means that, you know, it possibly could fall apart a little bit, because that's basically a shoulder that's rolled up into that ball shape, okay? But I'm willing to take that chance. I've done it before. Now, unlike other roasts, this is going to be a slow roast. What we're going to do, I've already got the oven at 200 degrees Celsius. It's warming up, it's preheating the oven. That's really hot, okay? The idea is we want to get this crackling as dry and crispy as possible. So to do that, I need to have a hot oven. It's a good idea if you're going to entertain or you really want this to work, put it like this in the fridge overnight, uncovered, because that actually helps dry out the skin, but I didn't have time to do that. So I'm just going to pat it down with some paper, because as I said, I just want to get this as dry as possible. And you can see it's sort of wanting to fall apart a little bit. That's okay. I can live with that. Rightio, so that's that. Now the other thing is, people will tell you, you know, to put all this oil and stuff on it. You don't need to. So I'm just going to put it in our tray like that. 2 teaspoons. Good measuring spoons are your best friend. So that's a teaspoon. Use vegetable oil. The reason why we use vegetable oil, because it cooks a lot hotter than olive oil. And there's a big confusion. A lot of people would put olive oil on this, and then they get this rubber instead of crackling, and that's why, okay? Whenever I'm doing a roast like this, I'll use vegetable oil, and same with roast vegetables. If I want really crunchy, you know, crispy roast veggies like I will with this, you use vegetable oil. Don't use olive oil. Right, so you can see I didn't put very much oil on there at all, just enough, and the only reason why is because I need enough just to hold the salt on. Now just for this, it's the only time really I use this. This is the Saxa salt, it's the sea salt flakes. Okay, I love these things, especially for this application. And this is just something I experimented with over the years. So they're actually quite big flakes, and we want to be really generous the way we sprinkle them on. And it's okay to press them in. Now this skin has been scored. Usually the butcher will do that for you. If not, just use a really sharp knife and score it. And the reason why we do that is so it'll cook more evenly. That scoring will open up and allow the heat to get inside it and cook more evenly. Now I'm going to put this in a hot oven for 30 minutes at stupid hot. Okay, and the reason why I'm doing that is to get this crackling started. Then I'm going to slow cook it only for about 1 hour and 20 at a really low heat, so 150. I'm going to go right down to 150. Okay, so you can see what I've done there. It looks like a lot of salt. I know you're thinking, oh my god, you're not be able to eat that. Well, a lot of it burns off, so it's all good. So that's basically step 1 of making a roast pork dinner. I'm going to put this in the oven now, lowest shelf, in the center, and set my trusty timer for 30 minutes, and not a minute more or less, 30 minutes, right? So while that's cooking, that's when I'm now going to cut up my vegetables, my potato, pumpkin for roasting. They're going to go into this pan as well, but we don't want to cook them at mega hot, because it'll just obliterate, it'll destroy them, okay? So they're going to take 45 minutes or so to an hour to do. Normally I pre-parboil them. Actually I am going to pre-parboil them, I think it tastes better. I'll get to that anyway, we'll come back to that. So for now, that's it. I'm going to put this up in the oven and then I'll come back with the rest of it. Okay, our meat's in. Normally I wouldn't do this now, but I'm just going to do it early just to show you. So this is our root vegetables. Obviously we're going to roast these with the meat. You could also put in carrots, Brussels sprouts, one of my favourites. I love roasted Brussels sprouts. Parsnips, got anything you want, right? So we'll just go through this. This is our tools. So here's our normal peeler. So I like to put my thumb on there and then pull it over like that, just to sturdy it. So once you figure this out, you can do it quite quickly. Now, because it's just me, there's only one potato, but if you're cooking for a small dinner party, obviously you could do about one potato per person. That's generally what I do. And then one for the oven, or one for the pot, as we say. So just one spare one, because you've always got someone that's addicted to roast potatoes. And you know, as you know, this is my special technique for doing these, and everyone loves them, including me. And it's not such a big deal. So there's my potato. Just chop all that now. I save all this for the compost. I'm just going to give this a bit of a wash, just to get any dirt and gunk and stuff off. Now, earlier I filled up this pot with, I don't know if you can see how much water in there. It's about 3/4 full. And the thing is, we're going to put this on the hot plate on warp factor 9. Okay, so as hot as it'll go. Lid on. The idea is we want that water to boil, and boil hot. So now I'm going to cut up my potatoes. Again, you can decide how you want to do them, how many pieces you want to do them. For this, and something I need to explain before, the hardest thing with doing a roast is working out the temperatures and how long you do it for. This pork is the most complex meat roast you'll ever do. And as you'll see, it's not that hard, okay? It's just that we're going to cook this at 2 different temperatures because of that crackling. So what happens, we've got it at 200 and we're going to back it down to 150. Now typically potatoes, all your roast veggies, your meats, everything, for me, they like 170, 180, okay? But we're not going to cook at 180 because we're doing a slow roast. We have to lower the temperature right down. That's why I'm going to pre-boil these, okay? Because we're cooking at such a low temperature. And that's the other reason why I think I'll actually cut these again in half, like that, so they cook quicker. So there's our potato, pumpkin. Now normally pumpkin cooks a lot quicker than potato. Love this knife. That's the thing. If you could have anything in the oven that you spend a lot of money on, it's knives. Knives is number one. The second one is pots and pans, like fry pans. That's the second thing you should spend your money on. But you can't beat good quality knives. I've got really good quality knives. So these are my veggie knives, but then I've got my meat knives, butcher's knives, and I use literal the same knives that butchers use. Okay, it's worth spending the money on them. This is our paring knife, just to get out that centre, like that. And so I'm going to cut that down the middle again. And then in half. Now, because of the length of time and everything, and this is soft, this is going to caramelise and really break down. It's almost going to be almost half the size of that. Alright, but that's okay, I don't mind doing that. Let's put our plastic back on this bit and we'll save that for dinner, another dinner later on. So that's basically our potatoes. So what I'm going to do now is, once that water is boiled, I'm going to boil them for 6 minutes, exactly 6 minutes. So we'll wait for the water to boil and we'll come back. Okay, our potatoes and pumpkin are just about ready. 30 seconds off. Now, while I was doing that too, I remembered I just had a spare onion. This is a red onion. Normally, I just use a normal, brown or white onion with my roast. I just like to cut it into wedges and just place it around. It's only to give flavour. You're not going to eat it because this is going to almost disintegrate to nothing. And this is garlic pieces, again, just for flavour. They're going to disintegrate to basically little black balls by the end of the process. So you're not going to eat them, but they're really good for flavouring everything. And if you do your gravy in the pan, these are just wonderful to add extra flavour. So we are just about, okay, there's our timer. So straight off, I've been boiling these at maximum for 6 minutes. And I put them into the pan like that. And now I give them a bit of a shaker. Alright, shaker. And what I'm doing is I'm roughing up the edges. And the reason why we do that is because once we roast them, those little broken up pieces on the outside turn to hard, crunchy. And on the inside, it's soft and fluffy and floury. It's wonderful. It's the best roast veggies you'll ever have. And this is my secret I developed over many, many years. Okay, it really is. So now I just use a spoon and I put the potatoes first back into my pot. And like that. So potatoes first. Our vegetable oil again, because we want these to crisp up. So we use vegetable oil, don't use olive oil. Olive oil will make them cook, but they'll be all soft and rubbery. So just gently with the spoon, just give them a bit of a mix. So I'll bring this over here so you can see what I'm doing. So we can cover them with the oil. Now my salt is rock salt, and I put it into this grinder, and that's how I do my salt. So I use this for everything. Seasoning is your friend, right? There's no such thing, I don't think, of over-seasoning, well, within reason. But seasoning is your friend. Don't be afraid of it. I seasoned a couple of times during the cooking process because you burn off a lot of that. Now normally, I would put this directly into the thing, but because I'm doing a video, I'm editing, I can't. Because now I want to do my pumpkin in here. And I put the pumpkin in here because I've already got oil and salt, but we're going to add a little bit more oil, just a touch really. Okay, that. I don't apply as much salt to the pumpkin because I like to use pepper on my pumpkins. Okay, again, it's a personal choice. It's a taste I've developed over the years, and now I just dig it. So, pepper, and I was just turning them then to make sure I can get the pepper on all sides. So that's essentially it. Our veggies are now ready, so what I'm going to do now is take the roast out. About 30 minutes is up. I'm putting this here because normally I'd put it on the oven top, but because I'm filming here, I don't want to burn the potato. Okay, so this is our 30 minutes at really hot temperature. Got these new gloves, by the way. They're like welder's gloves. They're awesome. In the past I had the material ones and I had oven burns all over my hands. Now these ones, they're like welder's gloves. They're awesome. I love them. $6 from Kmart. Thanks for coming. Okay, so here we go. I don't know if you can see that. It smells awesome, by the way. It's starting to crisp up, and that's what we want. So now, just while it does that, I'm going to turn the oven down to 150, which is really low. You sort of cook cakes and things at 150, it's pretty low, but we're doing it over a long time. Now I'm just placing these, not touching each other, all of them the same side up, because I'm going to turn them later. So I want to make sure they're all cooked on the same side. Just like that. Oh, and I just burnt myself, idiot. Find another spot, empty spot. Put your pumpkin in. Oh, good on you. Like that. And again, I know you can't see it probably, but they're not touching. Nothing's touching anything. Very important, because I want these to crisp up. I don't want them to meld, or, you know, together. So with the onion and the garlic, I just drop them in, just randomly, just like, you know, just like that. No big deal. Doesn't matter if they're sort of on top of each other or whatnot. Same with garlic. These are purely for aromatic reasons, and you'll see once you well, we'll take these out later to turn them over. The smell will just be incredible. So that's basically it. That's our roast. It's ready now to go back in the oven at 150. Now I'm going to do this for an hour 20 at 150, give or take. The other thing that's your friend when you are roasting meats is a thermometer, and you'll see later. So we're going to aim for around 60 degrees centigrade. The problem, I'll get this in the oven talk. The problem with pork, why it's tricky, aside the fact that you've got different temperatures and everything. So what's half of 120 is 60. What am I saying? I'm actually going to do it for 40 minutes, and I'm going to turn those at 40 minutes, only because it's cooking slower and longer. Normally I do it half and half, but it doesn't matter. The problem with pork, it dries out. It's notorious for drying it out. Now on the packaging that came, if you buy this from Coles or Woolworths, on the packaging it tells you, gives you instructions on, you know, how long to cook it for and everything. If you follow those instructions, you're going to get a dirty, filthy piece of brown shit at the end of it, right? You just will. It'll be dry as a nun's nasty, and it'll be inedible. Most people don't know any better, so they just assume that, oh, that's how it's meant to taste. No, it's not. I use a website, which I'll include the link on screen once I edit this. It's a roasting calculator, and you basically put in what sort of roast you're going to have, how heavy it is, the weight, and how do you want it, medium, rare, well done. And then hit calculate, and it tells you, put it in for this amount of time and that amount of time, blah, 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 blah. I've used that for years now, that calculator. I love it. It's spot on. I've never, ever, I've done everything from turkeys to ducks to lamb to beef, pork. I've done it all, right? And it's never let me down yet. So I use that. But look, if you want to basically disappoint yourself and everyone else, follow the instructions on the packaging. But if you really want a nice roast with crackling that's not dry pork, then follow that roast calculator. That's my suggestion. That's what I do. So we've now got 40 minutes up our sleeve. At this point is when I wash up everything, because I wash as I go. That way at the end of it there's nothing really to do. That's just me. You could go and have a beer or have a shower or do whatever you want to do. But we've got 40 minutes. I've got other veggies I'm going to do, but they're going to be boiled, okay? Some broccoli and beans and things. We're just going to boil them, so that's really no big deal. And then right at the end we'll do some gravy. And of course applesauce. You've got to have applesauce with pork. You can't not have applesauce. And recently I did a dinner party and I did stewed apples for the dessert, and you probably saw the pictures of that. I saved half the apples because I knew this was coming up. I had this actually in the freezer, this pork, for a couple of weeks, and I knew it was coming up, and so I saved half the apples and I used those little hand blenders tools in here and just blended them all up into a puree, and that's my apple sauce for tonight, and it's delicious. So that's what I did. But you can buy applesauce from Coles for about $1, $2 or something like that. I don't know. I haven't bought it in years. I prefer to make it myself. It's really easy to do. What else? I think that's it. Alright, well, I'll pause it here. and come back in 40 minutes and we'll have a look at what's going on. Okay, so this has been in for 1 hour. I did set it for 40 minutes. I checked it at 40, but I wasn't happy. You know, I wanted to do these a bit more now. You see that? It's smelling awesome. So I'm just going to now turn these potatoes over. But they seem to be crisping up okay. Everything seems to be going good. I'm also, at the end of this, I'm going to check the temperature to give me an idea of how far off it is. I mean, to me it almost seems like it's done, but you know, this is where a thermometer comes in really handy, because it's very difficult to tell. So here's my thermometer. Get these on eBay. And just set it to Celsius. Now it's playing silly buggers, of course. I think the battery's nearly gone. Okay, oh, almost. I think the battery's gone. No, I've got it now, but yeah, I've got more thermometers. So I'm just going to poke that in there, and it's gone back to Fahrenheit. Of course it is. Ah, it's at 61.7. That's it's actually where I want to be. But yeah. It's done. And the potatoes, even though I've turned them, I think they're all soft in the middle. They're perfect. They're good. So, because I'm paranoid, it's done. Okay, so that only took an hour. That's pretty good. That's the thing. That's why you got to keep checking it. In the olden days, before thermometers, I probably would have put that back in, you know, following the instructions, and it would have come out all dry and horrible. So now what I'm going to do is we have to let this rest. You do this with any meat that you do, anything, chicken, turkey, lamb. And now we rest it, we just put some alfoil over the top. I just do it loosely, you know, it doesn't have to be tight, like that. Your potatoes will go a little bit soggy sometimes if you do this, but unfortunately, because I'm doing it like this, I just have to. But I want to let that meat rest. If I wanted to, I could take the meat out. If I was doing a dinner party, I'd take the meat out, put it on a plate, cover it with alcohol, put the potatoes back in the oven on a very, very low heat just to keep them dry and cooking over. But I'm not going to do that for this. So now I'm going to do my veggies. Which tonight's just going to be whatever I've got in the fridge. It's nothing fancy by any means. So let's have a look. Putting my water on. I put a little bit of salt in the water for this. Okay. This is all I'm going to have. Got some old broccoli that's on its last legs, so I better use that. I don't like waste. I'm just taking the heads, because this is baby broccoli. Okay. So that, just remember I'm only cooking for one. If you're cooking for a dinner party, you're going to need a lot more than this. And beans. So I love beans. Now what I normally do with these is what I call like a garlic butter. I make up a garlic butter. I put it into a fry pan and I would fry these, or saute them really, for dinner party, but I'm just cooking for me. So we're going to top and tail them, just mean you cut off both ends. And then when they're long ones like this, I like to just chop them in the middle again, okay? A couple more, just like that. And that'll do. That's all I really need, okay? It's just me. I could put other stuff in, but I just couldn't be bothered. You do whatever you want to do. Okay. So the water is on, got the lid on, and I won't. I was going to put them in now, but I won't actually. I'll wait for the water to boil, and then I'll put them in. So what I'm going to do in the meantime is make some gravy. So normally you could just use Gravox, okay, which is easy, but I'm going to show you how to do a proper gravy sort of from scratch. So the first thing we need to do is some beef stock. I like this stuff, it's really good. So I'll make up a cup of that and I'll come back. Okay, so I've just moved the camera now because I'm going to try and show you this gravy process from scratch. So what I've done here, this is a cup of beef stock, okay? So it's like a tablespoon of stock with a cup of water, and then just stir it up to dissolve it. And then I just use plain flour, right? Now I've got a quarter cup there. I mightn't use all of that, but I'm just putting it there so I make sure I've got enough. Now if you remember back to our pan, now remove the meat, it's resting on the thing. This stuff is gold, okay? If you can see that, that's all the pan juices and everything. That is just absolute gold, that is. So that's what we're going to do. Now I've got this two elements on a low heat, only because the pan, you know, reaches across it. So we're going to warm that up. I use a whisk. Notice I'm using a plastic one on this non-stick pan because I don't want to scratch the crap out of it. Alright. I'm just going to let this heat up. And once we've done that, we're just going to sprinkle the flour. Okay. Now the reason why I've got the stock, in case you see there's not enough liquid, which there won't be for this amount of flour. I will use it all. And I'm just getting it into lumpy bits now, just whisking away. That's basically it. You can see that, it's all just coming together now. It's soaking up all those things. So now we'll add our stock. I'm hoping this won't lump up. It might, because if it lumps up, that means you're too hot. Too hot too quick, alright? And because I'm trying to make a video and do this all at the same time, that's why I sort of buggered it up. I would, if possible, do this the day before. Get it perfect, and then I strain it, and then I put it in the fridge overnight. And the flavours enhance. I can put a bit of white wine in sometimes. Depending if it's a chicken one, I definitely put white wine in. And so as you can see, it's all coming together now. I don't know if you can see that, but it's coming together perfectly. I'm really happy with that. It's not too lumpy, it's not too thick. It's just a really good consistency. And again, test it. That, you could bottle that. Like, seriously, that's pretty bloody good. I'm just going to give it a final bit of seasoning. Just because I can, same with that. Alright. Why not? It just tastes better. So I'll mix that in, get the heat off. Don't want it cooking anymore. Otherwise it'll go too thick and gluey. Right, there we go, that's it. That is awesome. So, normally I would put this through a strainer, but I'm not going to do that tonight. Oops, bloody hell. Trying to cram everything in. Normally I do this over on the bench, but I'm trying to include it into the camera. So there you go, there's our gravy. That's not that hard, is it? Again, you know, you do that for any meat. Same process, just different stock. That's the only difference. chicken and turkey, I make my own stock. Oh, that's really good gravy. Really good. Okay. Now, your greens, you cook for as long as you like. Some people like them crunchy. Old school people like them soggy. You know, I don't. I prefer somewhere in the middle. Firm, but not soggy. So I reckon they're done. So I'm going to strain them. I was going to turn you off, but bugger it, we'll just put that there. Right, carving knife. Now, I will move the camera. Wait. Okay, so we're going to carve the meat now. You probably can't see that, but that's crackled really well. Some people don't like crackling, other people do. I do. So the first thing I'm going to do is probably remove that. Ooh. Okay. I prefer a serrated edge knife when I'm cutting up meat. It's just better. Okay, so now I've got that off, I can begin to slice. Now, I don't know if you can see that. That is so moist, it's ridiculous. Right? That is unbelievable. And that's what I was saying. The problem with pork, if you overcook it, it just goes so dry. This, I don't know if you can see it, it's perfect, it's glistening. So that's it. I'm only doing it a little bit extra, but you know, don't cut the whole thing up if you're not going to use the whole thing. Now we're going to plate up. Not sure if you can see all this, but basically just plating it up. You know, this is just however you want to do it. There's my greens, and my pork. You don't want to pile the plate up if you can help it. And of course our gravy. Bit on the potatoes. Okay, here you go. Oh, my applesauce. So here's my homemade applesauce. Let's put some of that on there. Yummy. Okay. We're done. Plate it up. There you go. That's a slow roasted pork shoulder with crackling and the veggies roast dinner. Took 1 hour to do it, probably 20 minutes of preparation. So plan ahead. It's easy to replicate this meal with any roast. It's very similar. Use the calculator that I put into the description and enjoy.